which I'm very excited about because we are talking to Lindsey Vertner. Now, the thing about Lindsey, and I'll have her whole bio down below so that you can read just how amazing she is. But I think for me, what I really want you to take away from this is that she is a coach, she's an entrepreneur, she's been a host, she's an actress, she is all sorts of things. And I really want people to recognize that you can be multi-passionate and multi-talented, and all of those different expressions of you can live in the same body and in the same life. Like, we don't have to just say, I'm only going to do this one thing, and this is the only thing that I'm going to focus on. And I think what you'll hear from Lindsey today as we get more into the conversation is you'll see that it all comes together at some point. Like, it all works. It all works somehow. So, Lindsey, thanks so much for taking this time to chat with me.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and so tell us what mantles you carry, because I want people to, if in case they have the same ones, and they can resonate and relate.
Yes, so Joseph, Hannah, and Moses. And when I'm reading through the mantles and exploring the reports and everything, they're just so spot on. Joseph with the vision and the marketplace strategy, Hannah with the surrender and the devotional intercession, and
Yes.
then Moses with the obedient leadership. Oh,
And I love that. And actually, I can see, I mean, I see all of the mantles for sure. But with the work that you do now, it very much is so much of Moses and Joseph too. But definitely so much of Moses because of the leadership that you carry as you're helping people in all these different spaces. All right, first, I want to talk about kind of a life-changing thing that happened to you that kind of like made things shift and pivot. And that was an accident that you had. So you tell the story. I don't want to tell the story. You tell the story about that, and sort of, because something like that can be so traumatic and tragic. And you seem to have turned it into this really amazing life. And I want people to see that.
yes, well, a lot of times we go searching for our calling, but my calling found me. And
Mm.
how it started was in May 2007, I found myself waking up in complete darkness. I had no clue where I was. I wanted to move, I couldn't move. I wanted to speak, I couldn't speak. In my mind, the only logical explanation is somebody's done kidnapped me.
Right.
They're waiting to torture me
What's
because
happening? Right. Mm-hmm.
man, it's completely dark, no clue where I'm at, can't see anything. And so I start to panic. And I panic so much that I end up exhausting myself out to the point where I passed out.
Mm-hmm.
Next time I wake up, I'm thinking, whew, that was a crazy nightmare.
Right. What happened? Wow. Like, what
It felt
happened?
so real.
Right.
Like,
It
please,
felt
I don't
so
want to have
real.
that again. Only to realize I still couldn't move, still couldn't see, still couldn't speak. The only thing that had changed was now the sunlight was shining through a window that I knew wasn't mine. But
Mm-hmm.
before I could panic again, a lady walked up to me and she starts asking me questions, and I'm thinking I'm answering her out loud, but in reality, the only noises coming out of my mouth were because there was a tube going down my throat, keeping me alive.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out this lady is my nurse, and she proceeds to tell me that an entire week earlier, on May 13th, 2007, the car I was driving went off the opposite side of the highway, flipped multiple times before landing upside down. My head was pinned between the ground and the entire weight of the car on top of me. I had to be cut from the car, and I was immediately pronounced brain dead on this scene. But God, because
My God.
despite that, they put me on a helicopter and lifeline me to a trauma
Mm.
hospital where, again, I was pronounced brain dead upon arrival. But God,
My
because
God.
despite that moment, they
Mhm.
proceeded with emergency surgeries anyway, and they only placed my body on life support until my family could be contacted. So one minute I'm minding my business, the next I'm waking up to being told that not only had I been brain dead for the past week, but amongst the long list of injuries, I was also paralyzed.
And was supposed to die, essentially. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, they were like, we're just giving up. We're just gonna call her family because there's nothing left here.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
wild. So what happened? Like, this miraculous thing that happened. Like, what happened? How did you come? I mean, yes, God, but like, did they explain it? Was there some medical reason or what?
No, so they actually had no clue. They were shocked that my body was surviving. They were shocked at my recovery time period. Every level I kept
Mm,
reaching, they were like, "What? This is an anomaly. Like, what's happening?"
right.
And that's part of why I am very adamant about people creating what I call their first class life, which is a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and
Hmm.
happiness. And
Hmm.
first class life actually is an acronym that stands for the different characteristics that we want to embody into our lifestyle. And that's what helped my recovery. That's what helped my mindset. That's what helped me to create this life that I'm living and actually turn that painful story into a powerful purpose.
Because you literally could have just been like, I'm a victim. This is awful. Why is this happening to me?
Hmm.
And I'm sure that the recovery, quick as it was not easy. Like you
Oh,
still had to show up for it. I mean, physical therapy, speech therapy, like all of these, different things that you had to go through. And God was with you every single step of the time. But in your mind, I know you have the Hannah Mantle, so that requires this, or there's this element of surrender. But like, what was that like for you? What were you telling yourself in those moments? And I have goosebumps just hearing your story, by the way. I meant to be like, oh, I have goosebumps. What was going through your mind as you were having to go through the road to recovery?
yeah, so the first thing I had to be faithful. The F
Mhm.
in first class life stands for faithful. And
Good.
I had to hold on to the promise that God said, you will make a full recovery. Didn't know how, didn't
Amen.
know when,
Right.
didn't know like why this was happening to me
Yes.
at the time. But all of that unfolded as I took action, where the A in first class life stands for action oriented. And so all of these things work together. But as far as my mind goes, I had to be intentional about what I wanted. And
Mm,
whenever the obstacles would come where I didn't want to get up and go to therapy, where I was in excruciating
yeah.
pain, I had to remind myself of one, the faithful, the promise
Mhm.
that I was told, and then two, where it was that I was trying to go, because then it allowed me to get up and keep going. Because it's easy to throw in the towel. It's easy to say, all right, I'm going to give into my feelings. I'm going to throw
Yeah.
myself a pity party. And that's what people kept asking me, like, how are you smiling? How are you happy? How are you making jokes whenever this happened to you?
Right.
And it was that mindset, that intentionality, and remaining faithful. Those were those steps, really training my brain to say, why not me instead of
Mm,
why me?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, what an amazing story. And so you built first class life from that. So you went through the F, you went through the I. Did you go over R?
No.
Okay, let's go through R, S, and T.
R is for reflective,
Hmm.
really thinking about, okay, what am I doing as far as preparing myself for the
Yeah.
future that I'm trying to recreate,
Mhm.
and not giving into the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and well, maybe I should have did this, and then the wreck wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Being very reflective and self-aware about what we're experiencing and how things are feeling, especially when we place ourselves in environments, because sometimes we cause our own pain and suffering
Hmm.
from our own thoughts and from our own behaviors.
Hmm.
So that's the R.
Hmm.
And then S, that first F, S is for self-care.
Okay.
I am a big proponent of self-care is not
Yes.
selfish. Self-care is your secret weapon, and that's going to make the difference between your ability to be able to show up and making full impact versus minimum impact. And
Hmm.
a lot of times we run on empty, not realizing that we're meant to run on overflow. If we think about a teacup,
Running on overflow.
if you think about a teacup and a saucer, oftentimes we give people the stuff that's in our cup,
Hmm.
not realizing that everything in our cup is for us to maintain. What overflows onto the saucer is what we're to serve for everybody else. And our impact is maximized whenever we're able to do that.
Yes. So that's
And
it.
then
And then
yep,
T. Arrow
T.
T. Yeah. Okay.
T is for thankful. And I know it sounds cliche, but that attitude of gratitude, because the things that we focus on, we attract more of in our lives. And yes, it happened to me, but most people would be like, oh, well, now I can't hear, or now I've got this ugly scar and things like that. But instead, I was thankful that I didn't lose my vision. I couldn't see, but it was because they took out my contacts. So
I needed those
everything was
anyway. Right.
good.
Yeah.
but I didn't lose my vision.
Mm,
I couldn't hear for a moment, but I didn't lose my hearing. Like sometimes I have to lean in a little
sure,
bit,
sure.
depending on like which side, but I didn't lose my hearing. So yes, this happened, but I'm also thankful for what didn't happen. And
Hmm.
oftentimes we forget that part.
Yes, yes, that's true. And so
Mhm.
these are the things that you walk people through as you are helping them to develop their version of a first class life. And a first class life is different for everybody, right?
Yes.
Like I think that's really important because um, people may look and see they compare themselves to other people all the time. So how do you help people with the comparison when it comes to building a life that feels first class to you?
Comparison is the enemy of joy. We
Mhm.
know that
Mhm.
scripturally as
Right.
well.
Yes.
And we have to remember that we were uniquely made, that He made each and every one of us specifically for our purpose, and we are designed for that purpose. And so the things that you've been through, Dr. Tracy,
Right.
are not the same things that I've been through. And how you show up is not the same way that I show up. So why would I want to try and do what you're doing when I haven't walked what you walked and I don't experience the world the way you experience it? And that's where a lot of times that comparison causes us to suffer and create our own suffering, because once we are able to identify with who we're called to be and accept that, then things will start to change for the better. And that's why it's important to understand how you uniquely show up in the world and what that looks like to your impact, to your purpose, to your happiness, and all
Yes.
of the good things.
Yes. And let's talk a little bit about happiness because sometimes people don't allow themselves to be happy. Like
Mhm.
there are all these different expectations that are placed on them, and they feel like they have to answer every single one of those, whether it's societal expectations or family expectations or whatever the case is. And so they don't find space to even identify what would make them happy.
Mhm.
So what would you say to somebody who is in that place where they're being pulled in 1,000 different directions. People want them to be this, want them to do that, and they haven't taken the time out for themselves to get clear on what happiness truly looks like.
So if you notice, there are three S's in first class life.
Yes.
And those three S's have a sub foundation that
Oh,
I call the three pillars of self. We talked about S, self-care. Those other S's are self-worth and self-discipline. And
mm,
these three pillars are subconsciously tied to everything we do in our personal lives and our professional lives. So when we're not experiencing happiness
yeah.
or joy, I should say,
Mhm.
happiness can be fleeting, then usually there's an issue with the self-worth, because
Mhm.
there's something subconsciously saying, well, I'm not worthy of happiness, or
Yeah.
I'm not good enough for happiness. And I can speak to the not feeling good enough one, okay?
Right, right. I think we all can. We
Good.
all can. We've all had those moments in time.
hmm And so we will say yes to
Mm,
everybody and put our needs last, which ties into the self-care, because
yeah.
once we start to understand that, hey, I am worthy of love, I am worthy of experiencing life to the fullest, then it's easier to implement boundaries,
Mhm.
to say no, which are all deeper forms of self-care.
Deeper forms of self care. And
hmm
that transitions us into self care because you've built some really amazing things that allow for people to experience self care. And not just like, I'm going to take a bubble bath or I'm going to go for a walk self care, but like actual containers where people focus and allow themselves to be present with the idea of self care. And those are the retreats that you put together.
Yeah.
And so tell us about, I know you have one coming up next year and you're sort of wanting to fill those spaces and it's very limited, everyone. So she's going to talk about it, but if this is something that interests you, please, please, please make sure that you reach out to her or get the information. And we'll put the links and stuff down below. But the self-care retreats, give us the inception and then where it is today.
So, first class life self care retreats are all about prioritizing our self care, because that's how we can show up not only for our own fulfillment, but everybody we're connected to, we're making the maximum impact, and it actually has a ripple effect. So, as
Mhm.
we mentioned about the teacup and the overflow earlier, when we're showing up, we are often showing up on E or half tank. Like if we think
Right,
about gas,
right.
and we're
Mm-hmm,
like,
mm-hmm.
great, I've
Tired.
served everybody, a
Right.
little exhausted, a
Yes.
little overwhelmed, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody's served.
Right.
not realizing that if we showed up on full all the time, how much bigger our impact would be without the overwhelm, without the
Hmm.
burnout, without the extra stress that we're putting on top of things. So the self-care retreats are designed to disconnect from all of the daily demands
All of
because
the
it's
daily demands.
easy to give in to those when they're right next to us.
Yeah. Right. And so you pull people away. And this started out, you said, in your home, and now it is migrated to many different parts of the globe, which is very exciting. And so, where is the next one happening?
I
Because that's an exciting place.
actually, yes, I'm actually preparing to leave for my Fiji one for this year in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So I'll be finalizing stuff for that later today. But then the next one will be in Bali, Indonesia, next October 2026. And it's already live. You can sign up. If you need details, we can hop on a call, we can walk through it. But it's truly designed to take off all the hats because we're mom, we're daughter, we're wife, we're cousin, we're coach, we're leader, we're
Hmm.
CEO, we're all the things to all
Right.
the people all the time. And it
All
is
the time.
uniquely curated for you to show up and just be Dr. Tracy, to just be Ashley, to just be Jessica, to just be Keisha, to
Hmm.
be you and reconnect with yourself.
Yes. And sometimes you can't do that when you're in your own home. You know what I mean? Because there's so many different things. Like I work from home, so my office is at home. I have people in the house. Like you can't really truly unplug and unwind in your own home sometimes because there are so many things that are happening. So retreats like this, and this is a retreat in every sense of the word. Like you will retreat away. Like you're going to go away. And Bali, and I've never been to Bali, but so many people talk about it. They rave about it. I know so many different retreats that happen there. And I was just telling Lindsey, that that's where my brother goes to vacation by himself. He just retreats alone because it's an environment that allows for that. And you're going to be in a space that is cultivated and curated specifically for self care,
Yeah.
specifically so that you can give yourself that time and attention that most of us women just do not do. We don't do it. We don't do it, even though we say we do. Like, yes, we'll take the bubble bath. Yes, we'll, have our little cup of tea on the balcony or whatever the case is. But these spaces, it also, I want to say this, it's something that you can look forward to because this is happening in 2026, right? And for
Hmm.
me, the way that I operate is I am better when I know that there's something coming that, like something I'm excited about. Like if I, and this can be something small or something big. It could be like, oh, I have all this stuff to do, but in 2 weeks, I have that spa day coming, you know what I mean? And so this allows for that because now you have this that's coming up in about a year. By the time they see this is about a year, it gives you plenty of time to prepare, get your
Hmm.
flights, get the babysitter, do what you need to do, like really to make sure that you allow yourself this time and space. And it's something to look forward to, even though it's a year out, and a year goes by really quickly too.
Oh, does it? Tell
Yeah.
me about it.
Hmm. So how many spots do you have left available for this?
I have 15 spots, so nice and juicy.
Nice and juicy, but it's
It's not
intimate.
one of those retreats.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
it's
it's
not
intimate.
one of those that's 100, 150 attendees
Yeah.
because I know myself and I know the conversations that I naturally have, and we
Hmm.
naturally go into that growth space.
Hmm.
When
Hmm.
we're chilling and having
Yes,
fun, we're
right.
having a margarita, we're laughing.
I
Next thing
love
you
it.
know, we're crying tears.
Yeah, right. It's so funny how we can do that. Like how like in an instant we're laughing and then we're crying and then we're laughing again and then we're
Yes.
sleeping and then so I think that that's amazing. And behind you, I see your book, First Class
Uh-huh.
Life. So I want to make sure that you talk a little bit about that in case that's something that people are interested in now because the retreat's next year. But in case they want to prepare or just begin to have this conversation with themselves, talk about the book.
Yes, so I actually have a whole suite of First Class Life
Oh,
products,
love
and this is the foundational one right here because each chapter breaks down each letter
it. Hmm.
and how to apply it to yourself. So it's very hands-on type of
Oh,
book.
good.
You don't just read it. It has
Hmm.
questions at the end of each chapter. It has practical things that you can do so you can start to incorporate it into your life and really start to truly create your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. And I specifically say create because it's, again, not something
Hmm.
that you find or you
No,
search. It's something that
right.
you intentionally and actively create for yourself.
Yes, and I love that concept. And it's what allows for someone like you and so many of us who have all of these different passions to create a version of our life that incorporates these different aspects of ourselves. You're not just one thing. You're a talented actress. You're wonderful on stages. You're also wonderful as a retreat host. I'm sure you're a wonderful friend. You're a wonderful daughter. You're all these many different things that allow for you to be who you are, and you have created a life that to some may seem like, oh, she just has it so easy, like, oh, look at her, she's, you know, she's beautiful and she's talented, and it might seem like everything was so easy without actually knowing what it took and the intentionality that it took for you to get to where you are.
Yeah, that's why I hate when people are like, oh, vision boards don't work. Well, you're forgetting the key piece. It
Right.
starts with the vision, but
Right.
then you got to still
Yeah,
put
do stuff.
action
Right.
behind the vision. Just like
Yeah.
on the spiritual side of things, faith without works is dead. You got to have the
Mm-hmm.
faith and you got to do the work
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
bring the fulfillment. And so, yes, that's what first class life is all about. And I am living, breathing proof. Not only have I
Literally.
studied
Yeah.
all of the things and helped people to get their own results, but I've personally lived it. And so you can just look and see,
I
like,
mean,
it
literally,
doesn't get
bringing
much
yourself
later.
right, like creating. I mean, and obviously, God plays a very big role, and your faith plays a very big role, of course. But literally creating it from death, essentially, like
Hmm.
from paralysis, couldn't see, couldn't hear. You know, your body was betraying you. It's not doing what I want it to do. To now, this. I mean, it really is such an amazing thing. Thank you for sharing your story. And I
Thank
hope that this
you.
inspires so many. And obviously, we'll have the links, like I said, down below, and you can see more stuff. And maybe Lindsey will, I don't know if you sent me this, but send some clips of your fun acting that people can see. Because I want them to see everything that you do. Like, no, like when you say like
Yes.
she's an actress, like it's not just like in her bedroom. Like she does this.
Yeah,
Like,
I actually
yeah,
just had a movie release on Tubi, and people were asking me, so wait, are you an actress now? You don't do coaching? No, I do both. Like, I actually started acting because I practice what I preach.
because you
I
wanted
had
it.
a
Yes.
time where I was like, I don't want to think, I don't want to solve problems, I don't want to put out fires. I just want to show up and be creative and have
Creative.
fun. Insert acting.
I love that. And you've been on, so the movie's on Tubi, and then you've been on BET, I know. And there's just many other things that's all in your bio that people can read about. But again, see, multi-passionate, you can show up in all these different spaces as your whole self and be in full integrity with who you're created to be, finding and creating the first class life. Thank you so much, Lindsey, for sharing this. And
Thank
I can't wait
you.
to hear more from you and to see more from you. I have to go find that movie on Tubi now so that I can go. Yeah.
Glad you know this version because you're not going to like her.
Well, I'm excited to see it. Thank you so much. And like I said, all of her stuff will be down below, and you guys can check that out and be in touch with her as you are building your first class life. Thanks, Linz.